It's like that movie, that Dillinger movie. He was the most outrageous criminal back then, that John Dillinger guy. They had to create the FBI because of him. Because he would rob banks and everything. I don't know if he did armored cars and stuff, but he robbed banks all over the place, him and his crew. They would go to this state, then to the next state, to the other different states. And so each state had their own laws. And if he robbed a bank in one state, they couldn't pick him up in the other because it's different laws. So they had to create a federal bureau of investigation to arrest him federally. And he walked right into the federal bureau, the guys that were investigating him. He walked right up to their evidence board, and he stood right in front of it while they were having coffee in the corner, and he's looking at all their evidence. Hey guys, not a care in the world. And it looked like he was absolutely fearless, but it was completely the opposite. He was terrified to the point of, he was terrified of losing control, to the point that he would manifest full and complete control of everything. So that's the Jezebel spirit in a nutshell. It wants full and complete control of everything, and it wants to appear as if it has no fear whatsoever, but it uses fear. If to prove to himself, he walked in there and stood in front of them guys, and just like in this mocking way, in this.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah. But
challenge him.
Well, what cracked it for me, to help me see that he was actually driven completely by fear, was that he saw a woman in a bar, in this big ballroom type thing, and he goes up to her and he says, "You're coming with me. Let's go have a drink." And she went, "Who are you?" And he said, he told her in all this confident way, and then she, all right, so she gets up and she comes and sits with him, and by the end of a couple of hours or the rest of the evening, she was his girl, and she came with him everywhere he went. But she, about a few months in, once she realized what was all going on and everything else, she left when he wasn't there, and left a note or something and saying, "No, we're done, I'm not dealing with this, I'm not blah blah blah." And he lost control of her, and that rejection hit, and that fear of rejection was so strong in him, and fear of losing control was so strong in him. That's where I realized why he acted the way he did with everything. He had to be in complete control of every aspect of everything in his life. Every emotion, everything. To the level where he was in control that much to go into that office and look at that board right in front of the guys that are trying to arrest him. That's kind of what's happened with my son when he went to jail just now. He's like, "I'm never doing drugs again. I'm never doing anything that they could ever use to control me ever again." Instead of saying, "You know what? I need to change me. This is my choices that have caused all this. I need to repent and get right with the Lord and stuff." Instead, he's going to control it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the fear of losing control, and it's all fear.
I understand him.
Yeah, and it's hard to understand him unless you understand this stuff, or
I understand your son.
or if you've gone through it,
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I bring it up, because it's can we recognize any of this stuff in ourselves and then say, you know what, rather than me taking this much control of the situations in the past and the trauma, can we give it over to the Lord and trust Him with it?
You're touching a very raw nerve at the moment.
I know.
And I know she wants to shut this down.
I know.